Went live a little early, so we'll give some people a few minutes to jump in here. Another day, another live show. Of course, I already did a couple videos earlier today. Got to keep those pumped out on a daily basis. I don't know, for some reason today doesn't feel like a Tuesday. Today doesn't feel like a Tuesday to me, but it is. I checked right before I went live to make sure I said the right day. Today's a Tuesday. Anyways, yeah, another live show, ready to go. You know what's really funny to me? Not just in the comments section of my videos or the comments section of my live shows, like other people's channels. I hear my name mentioned, and I hear Golden Blue Dude's talking about conference realignment, and then blah 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 blah. Usually it's something smart alecky or making fun of me, which is fine, whatever. But it just, I'm kind of baffled because if you watch Golden Blue Dude for any amount of time, yeah, like that's, I really love conference realignment. I really like talking about what's possible, what could happen, what might happen, what won't happen, stuff like that. And like I said in the first video, that there was one mistake that I made that I did learn from, and it still bites me in the rear end on a consistent basis. Every day it bites me. I see it because people comment about what I'm posting everywhere. 365 Sports, Uncle Lou, Pigskin Pete, everywhere. And the one thing that people love to bring up is whenever I, like an idiot, predicted West Virginia and Notre Dame to go to the ACC. You can't do that. You can't do that. Because here's the thing. Whenever it comes to conference realignment, nobody knows what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. So I did learn from that mistake. Even though I still do conference realignment videos, these aren't predictions. These are like speculation, scenario, what's possible, what's changed, what hasn't changed, stuff like that. It's just trying to figure out any type of change that could happen, that has happened, that won't happen, stuff like that. And it's done pretty good. That's the big thing that's pretty cool about all this. It's done pretty good. Even the crazier ones, I'm telling you, and I know some people don't realize, and some people do realize, it just depends on who you are, that even some of the crazier ones that I put out there, I know they're crazy. That's why I stopped predicting, because I'm like, this is never going to happen. This is crazy, but it's fun to talk about. And then the conversations that get started because of these are crazy, 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 crazy conversations. And that's what I love about it. That's the whole point of my YouTube channel, is to get people talking, not really arguing to where people get mad at each other, but I like to trash talk. I like to see, what this person thinks, and then this person thinks that, and then they try to figure out who's right and wrong, when in reality, probably neither one of them is right or wrong, because, like I said, nobody knows what's going to happen. So tonight, I wanted to talk about the ACC and the Big 12. And there's a big debate going on, even between me and some of the people that I know that like to talk conference realignment, specifically me and Tony Altimore. There's a big debate about the ACC grant of rights. Some people think that they're ironclad. Nobody's getting out of them, no matter what. It doesn't matter. They are locked in. It's not happening. Nothing's changing in the ACC until 2036. I disagree. I think there's two ways to get out of it. The first one, shelling out a crap ton of money, $500 million. I don't think that's likely. I don't think any team is going to do that. I really don't. But it's a way out. It's a crazy, steep, expensive way out, but it is a way out, right? And then the second thing is, of course, the votes. And it's a majority vote, but it's not just simple majority. You got to have 8 teams. And then if more members add, that number goes up. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize this. The teams in the state of North Carolina control the ACC. So I guarantee you this. And this is the reason why ESPN had North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, and Florida State going to the SEC because of this. Because the teams in the state of North Carolina control the ACC. I'm convinced that if those teams told the ACC to jump, they would jump. If they showed concern and say, hey, we're rounding up a bunch of people to vote to dissolve these grant of rights, something would happen. And that's why North Carolina was in that bunch. So there are ways out of this. How likely is it? That's the $1 million, well, that's like the $100 million question, actually. Ray Finkel's thank you for the $9.99 donation. Simple and to the point. I almost said simple and to the sports because it says sports. Simple and to the point. Sports, exactly. We all love sports, but appreciate the donation, buddy. Haven't seen you in the chat in a while, or maybe I haven't. I just forgot. I don't know. My memory is not great, man. My memory is not great. Anyways, before we continue, quick reminder, everybody, make sure to hit that like button. Even if you're not watching us live, you're watching the replay, still hit the like button. It helps this video hit the YouTube algorithm. Case in point, last night, we had a decent crowd. It wasn't our biggest crowd, but it was decent. And I encouraged people, even the people that watched the replay, to hit the like button. And when we went off air, we had around, 300, maybe 400 views. And then like 2 hours later, we had 1,000 for a live show. That's pretty good. I think at last glance, we had like 17 or 1,800 views, something like that. For a live show, that's a lot of views. And that's why I say, please hit the like button, because that's what tells YouTube, hey, people are interested in this, and it gets suggested more. So if y'all would do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And just like Ray Finkel's house, if you have a question, a blurt, you want to blurt out a question, a comment, a troll against me, because I'm an easy target, let's be honest. But you know what? It's part of the checklist. Thick skin. Check. I got it. But anyways, to get my attention, everybody else's attention, hit that super chat button just like Ray Finkel's house did. It's the little dollar sign that you see on the bottom right-hand corner. Anything you put in that super chat is going to go on the screen. See, even Ray Finkel's house put sports in the super chat. One word. But you know what? I appreciate the donation, so it's going on the screen. And it's a great way to support the channel, because I've said this at least 20 times by now. In the off season, the donations mean even more. Now, don't get me wrong. They're great all the time. Regular season, whenever, they're great. But in the off season, people do lose interest in college football, and the views do go down, and it gets a little bit tougher to pay the bills. So those donations really, really help out. And that actually answers the question that everybody, why do Golden Blue do conference realignment videos all the time? Well, it's especially in the off season, because people get disinterested in regular sports talk, in the analytics and stuff like that. They're not thinking, they don't care about 2023 just yet. You have a direct comparison on my channel today. Today, I did a video on conference realignment, and then I did another video on actual, conference rankings. Something that's actually about college football that is usually talked about, whether it's team rankings or conference rankings. And the conference realignment video has like over quadruple the views. But as the season gets closer, then people do get interested more in the season, and that's when you can really start hitting that hard. Ray Finkel's house, thank you for another $9.99 donation, says, you think UAB is going to take a step forward with Trent Dilfer? That, I actually do think they will, but here's the thing. I think UAB is already in a good spot. So a step forward, maybe not in wins and losses, because they've been having pretty good seasons, but I think he'll be able to recruit at a decent level, and then you'll see those wins, take a significant bump or a recognizable bump in the near future. I will say this, UAB heading to the AAC, that's going to be interesting, because they were used to being in Conference USA. However, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston, they're off to the Big 12. So the toughest teams won't be in the AAC, and a lot of UAB's friends from Conference USA are headed to over to the AAC. I think UAB is going to be one of the best teams in the AAC. I think they're in a good spot. State of Alabama, biggest brand as far as the state of Alabama when it comes to the AAC. So, yeah, I think UAB is going to take a step forward. I just don't know if you'll be able to measure it in wins and losses this particular year. I think it was a good hire. We'll see if I'm right or wrong on that one. But I think UAB pulled a rabbit out of the hat with that one. I didn't see that one coming at all. So good job for UAB. But I wanted to go back to what I was talking about as far as the ACC and the Big 12. You know, I was under the impression that all the Big 12 teams have signed the grant of rights. Apparently, that's not the case. The grant of rights, the new grant of rights for the Big 12 hasn't even been released. Nobody knows the terms. Nobody knows the buyouts. I mean, there has been speculation, and some people think they know what it is, but it hasn't been released. And I've heard articles where, you know, the Big 12 has come to an agreement with the grant of rights. I just haven't seen numbers. Nothing like that has been released. So if there are teams that haven't signed the Big 12 grant of rights, number one, who are they? Number two, when are they going to sign the grant of rights? Are they talking to another conference? And I'm even going to throw the Pac-12 in on this, because last week I was hearing that the negotiations, the TV deal negotiations between Jackson Johnson, what's up, buddy? The negotiations between Pac-12 and ESPN not doing very well. Arizona State furious with it, and they were set to lead the charge of the 3/4 of the four corners over to the Big 12. And then, of course, I had my guests come on, Jeff Grimm and Tony Altimore, saying, no, the Big 12, the Pac-12 actually does have a TV deal ready to go. In fact, look for San Diego State and SMU to be added to the Pac-12. I have not heard any reports telling me that the Pac-12 has a TV deal. And I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying I haven't seen the reports yet. So, you know, I still think there's a possibility that the Big 12 could possibly pull some teams from the Pac-12. Now, I understand the research money is a big deal as far as teams staying in the Pac-12. But as far as the direction of the conference itself, it's not a good direction. People do not understand just how big the jump from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten was for USC and UCLA. Nobody thought that was going to happen. The Pac-12 was in a good situation. Their TV deal was about to be renegotiated like it is right now. And no, it wasn't going to be anywhere near the Big Ten or the SEC, but people were expecting it to be better than the Big 12. Something like, I think, in the $50 million range, 50 to 60, somewhere around that. I don't know the exact number. And then boom, USC and UCLA off to the Big Ten, and the value of the Pac-12 goes significantly lower. Now, the last number that I heard was $25 million. That hasn't been verified. A TV deal at all hasn't been verified. So I'm keeping the Pac-12 in this loop until that is verified, until it is released. And they release the TV deal, the number of years for the TV deal, the grant of rights, how much money each team is going to make. So until those numbers are actually released, I got to keep the Pac-12 in this loop, because that means it's not nailed down as of right now. So they're still in the loop. They're not really a part of this particular video. I just wanted y'all to be aware that I do still have the Pac-12 in the loop. Now, as far as the Big 12 goes, biggest question would be, how many teams the number of teams that haven't signed the grant of rights, and who those teams would be. Now, from my understanding, the new teams coming in have signed the grant of rights. So, from rumor, I haven't seen it from like news sources. It's what I'm hearing from different people, okay? I'm hearing that the 4 new teams coming into the Big 12 have signed new grant of rights. So that means, if that's the case, then that means the new grant of rights are there. So if that's the case, why haven't they released the numbers and all that? It's just a bunch of I've heard this, I've heard that, but I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it verified. I haven't seen the actual numbers. I haven't seen the years. There's a lot of guesses that it's going to be the grant of rights will go till 2031. I've also heard 2036, like the ACC, go out, over 10 years. Not sure about that. I would think 5 or 6 is what they would shoot for. But I haven't seen anything to verify it. So that's my biggest question. And the teams, if those teams exist, the teams that haven't signed, how many, who are they, and why haven't they signed yet? That would be the biggest question for me. And we've talked about the ACC. Their TV deal is absolute garbage. Garbage. The buyout's $500 million, ridiculous. The grant of rights run till 2036, ridiculous. The payout per team is in the 20 millions, terrible. And the ACC network is a joke. So why would anybody want to join the ACC? Well, here's the thing. If you can go out and get some big brands or some good brands, then you can bring ESPN back to the negotiating table and say, hey, we want more money. If you want to cut the deal down to 2031, that's fine. We understand. But we think we think our brands are worth more than this. I think the ACC brands are worth more than what they're getting paid. I really do. I think it's ridiculous. But it is what it is. And, I asked the question, why in the world would Swafford sign that? And then a lot of people tell me, well, at the time it looked like a good deal. Okay, I understand. Because people didn't realize how much these TV contracts would balloon. Nobody could see that the SEC and the Big Ten was going to get 100 million? No, 1 billion, $1 billion deal. Crazy. Nobody saw that coming. And so it looked like a good deal at the time. I still have a hard time believing that, and especially signing a deal for that length of time. You don't want to sign a deal that long because that doesn't give you any time to negotiate, because you have to plan for stuff like that happening. I understand you want to lock teams in, but at the same time, if you think you have a good conference, then you should know you're going to have some good negotiation power coming up. So you want to do it in years of 5, at the most 10, at the most, nothing more than 10. So that was a bad take. That was a bad take on Swafford. That really hurt the ACC. And the ACC does have some good brands, and the fans of ACC teams like being in the ACC. They just got absolutely screwed by that TV deal and the grant of rights. That's the bottom line. So now what the ACC needs to do is they need to go out and get some brands to where it gives them some negotiating power to bump up the value. And hey, if you gotta shorten the deal, that's fine. Just make sure you know what you're going to do whenever that deal is up. Yes, West Virginia is one of the teams that I'm hearing hasn't signed the grant of rights. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't. Okay? So it doesn't mean that they won't. But yes, I am hearing that West Virginia and possibly Oklahoma State could be 2 of the names that haven't signed. And that's why I made the video earlier about, possibly whether the ACC were to get any teams out of the Big 12, that's a different discussion. But they have to at least try to get these teams out of the Big 12. If they have not signed the grant of rights, they have got to be trying to get these teams right now. Because once these teams sign that grant of rights, the price for them to leave the Big 12 goes up significantly. Significantly. So, ACC needs to be making some moves, or at least trying to. And maybe they are, and it's going on behind closed doors and nobody knows about it. But usually, there's something that leaks that can give us the story. Something like that. So if it is true, and I do think it is, because it's starting to, especially over the past couple of weeks, it's starting to pick up a lot of heat as far as, why haven't these teams signed the Big 12 grant of rights? Is there a new Big 12 grant of rights? And then I heard, well, the new the 4 new teams coming in, they signed the new grant of rights. Where is the new grant of rights? What does it say? How many years? What's the buyout? I've heard rumors of, it went from 80 million to 100 million. I've also heard rumors of, no, it's 120 million. All rumors, nothing verified. So to me, that tells me that it could be still being negotiated, which means they could be trying to add more teams as well. See, there's a lot that factors into this. A lot of people focus on the what's happened. All right. So the what's happened would be, all right, teams haven't signed the grant of rights, and they would stop right there. Okay, teams haven't signed the grant of rights. I try to go, well, why? What does that mean? If teams haven't signed the grant of rights, what does that mean? Well, it could mean that teams in the Big 12 are talking to other conferences, are trying to explore their options, see if they want to stick with the Big 12 or move to another conference. On the other hand, it could mean that the Big 12 is trying to get more teams, and they want to wait to make sure to come up with the grant of rights for everybody to be satisfied with, including the teams that haven't joined yet but might join. AKA one of the teams could be Gonzaga. Big 12's after Gonzaga, and a lot of people are like, the Big 12 grabbing Gonzaga, that doesn't help. It does. Listen, I know that football drives conference realignment. I get that 100%. But Gonzaga could draw interest from teams in the Power 5 that do have a football program, but they like basketball better. So, and I know Gonzaga's on the West Coast, but, you could attract a brand like, a Louisville. They got a good football brand, but Louisville is a basketball school, okay? And that's no disrespect to Louisville. They know that. Louisville is a basketball school who has a good football program. So if you get in more basketball schools, that could attract some of these brands from the ACC because you're trying to strengthen your league to be the best basketball brand there is. Big 12 already has the best basketball conference. If they grabbed Gonzaga, it would go from the best basketball conference to the undisputed elite best basketball conference with a gap between them and the next conference. Okay? That's fine and dandy. Football is what the Big 12 needs to focus on. It's fine that you have a great basketball conference. I like basketball. That's the sport that I played in high school. I was pretty good at it. Won 3 championships altogether, church league and 2 high schools. So, I really do like basketball, but football is what these conferences have to focus on whenever it comes to conference realignment, because that's what's driving the big time money makers when it comes to conference realignment. Will Klein, thank you for the $2 donation, says a bit of a toss, but what about TCU going to the ACC? That's interesting as well. If TCU is not one of the teams that has signed the grant of rights, that would be a must talk to if you're the ACC. Whether you get them or not, fine, whatever. But you need to at least be talking to TCU, because could you imagine the ACC having a footprint in the state of Texas? Dadgummit, Will Klein, you just gave me a video idea, so I got to write it down, man. I have to write that one down. That's pretty good right there. Hold on, give me a second, guys. And this pen is out of ink, so I'm gonna have to scratch this in. Hold on. All right, that's good enough, I guess. I can read it. Anyways, I like that. And if TCU is one of the teams that hasn't signed the grant of rights for the Big 12 or the new grant of rights for the Big 12, then the ACC needs to be talking to them. Now, if they don't get TCU, that's fine, but you need to be talking to them. This is the point of these videos that I've been making. Whether it happens or whether it doesn't happen, so be it. Whatever happens, happens. But these conferences need to be talking to these teams. Why the ACC has never added West Virginia is beyond me. And the biggest argument about that, the biggest, stupidest argument is academics. Well, guess what, ACC? The moment you accepted Louisville, that argument went out the water. And then ACC comes back with, well, we needed a replacement for Maryland, so we got Louisville. So you threw the argument out because you needed a replacement for Maryland. And as far as academics goes, Louisville does not replace Maryland. And listen, I am not trash talking Louisville either. They don't have terrible academics. That's not what I'm saying. There's just a significant gap between Louisville and the next lowest one, which is NC State. Huge gap. They're more in the realm of West Virginia. So the moment the ACC accepted Louisville, they cannot use the academic argument anymore. And if you really want to look into that academic argument, there's a lot that goes into that as far as West Virginia goes. They're a land-grant university. They don't have a lot of branches, tentacles, sister schools that they can send those lower academics to. And their mission statement, West Virginia University mission statement, is to educate as many West Virginians as possible. So the acceptance rate is through the roof. And they just don't have enough branches to send all those non-4-year degrees down. And so the actual score for West Virginia is in the 200s. And Louisville is at like 190, something like that. So, yes, West Virginia is a little bit lower, but Louisville's not in the elite status. And that was the excuse that they used for West Virginia. But they don't talk about West Virginia being a Tier 1 research facility, bringing in massive amounts of money for research. If it was listen to this, guys. If it wasn't for AAU status, West Virginia would actually be a good fit for the Big Ten. That's a fact. If the Big Ten didn't require AAU status, West Virginia would actually be a good fit. But it's that AAU status. And then there's the money-making capabilities that West Virginia would bring to the ACC. Now, this isn't me like pounding my chest saying West Virginia's the best university in the ACC if we were to join the ACC. Not at all. I think there's several universities that are more valuable than West Virginia in the ACC. My point about West Virginia in the ACC is they bring specific value to the ACC because of the rivalries that are already there. Look in my comments section. You're seeing Pitt fans and Louisville fans already saying, bring them in. Why? Because they remember those games. They remember those rivalries. Syracuse fans, I've heard it from. Virginia Tech fans. All those rivalries that we had, they're like, yes, we would love to have West Virginia. Why? Because the regional rivalries have become a thing of the past, especially for West Virginia. I mean, the closest thing we have to a rival in the Big 12 is Texas, and that was taken away from us this year. We were supposed to have that home game against Texas, which that series, since we've joined the Big 12, is 6 wins to 6 wins. It could have been dubbed the tiebreaker game. Whenever the schedule for the Big 12 came out for this year, I was like, my gosh, revenue missed opportunities for the Big 12. I just mentioned one of them. Taking the home game against Texas off, but leaving the road game against Oklahoma. Yes, there have been close games between West Virginia and Oklahoma, but overall, Oklahoma has dominated West Virginia in the Big 12. We got that one win. So we can send Oklahoma off to the SEC knowing we got that one win in the Big 12 against Oklahoma. But overall, it's been a lopsided series, and this is going to be a road game. Oklahoma's going to be mad that they did lose to us in Norman. I don't think West Virginia gets within 2 touchdowns. I think we lose by 17 to 20 points. It's not going to be that fun of a game. I think that's lost revenue potential right there. And then the other thing was Houston and West Virginia. Yes, they did match up Houston and West Virginia, but they should have sent Houston to Morgantown because of the storyline. You only get one chance for that. Yes, they can do it next year, but it's going to lose a little bit of its luster. Let's face things, all right? So instead, they send West Virginia to Houston, and they could have had the storyline of Dana Holgorsen going back to the team that he used to coach, hostile road environment. They could have put that game prime time. It would have gotten a lot of eyeballs. But instead, no, let's send West Virginia to Houston. Houston fans don't care about West Virginia. They know it. They know that Dana Hargison came from West Virginia, but there's nothing there. The reason it would be way better for Houston to come to West Virginia is because West Virginia fans care about meeting Dana Hargison. But Houston fans and West Virginia, okay, this could be a good game, home game, whatever. So I didn't understand that. Missed revenue potential by the Big 12. But as far as the value that West Virginia brings to the ACC, I think it's compared to other conferences, like West Virginia bringing value to the SEC, I don't see it that much because there's no rivalries in there. West Virginia is a top 30 brand, but they're not like super, super elite. I don't think they would do anything to bump the needle. I don't think there's any value there. I mean, it would be interesting. You'd see cool regional matchups, but nothing that would, pop off the screen. Big Ten, maybe a little bit better than the SEC because you would have, Maryland in there. You would have Penn State in there. So a couple of rivalries in there. But other than that, I mean, not really that much of a needle mover. But for the ACC, they bring specific value to the ACC because of, the rivalries there. And it's not just West Virginia. It's almost like a network of rivalries, and the only person that's missing, or the only university that's missing, is West Virginia. I mean, you have Syracuse, West Virginia, Syracuse, Louisville, Louisville, West Virginia, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Pitt, Syracuse, Pitt, West Virginia, Louisville. I mean, it's all over the place, and it's just a nice little network. It's like the most what's the constricted area of rivalries, but there's a big old hole. And it's West Virginia. You throw West Virginia in there, and they're all connected. They're all connected. I just think the ACC is tripping over themselves. They're looking down their nose on West Virginia for absolutely no reason by bringing in Louisville. The excuse is out the window. West Virginia is a Tier 1 research facility, so they do have some credentials to them. They have a ton of Rhodes Scholars. Yes, the last one was like 97, 98, so it's been over 20 years. But still, West Virginia has a lot of Rhodes Scholars. So West Virginia does have some credit in the academic community. They're just looking at the score. The score. Man, that's what gets me. And I've already explained why West Virginia has that score. It's because we can't send our lower degrees and our lower academics to the branches affiliated. A lot of these bigger universities have 10, 15 different branches to where they can send those 2-year degrees to, and it doesn't affect their academic score. West Virginia doesn't have that. I went to the Backyard Brawl last year, and, since West Virginia has been in the Big 12, I've been to at least 1 or 2 games. I live in the upstate of South Carolina, so it's probably a good 10, 12 hours. If I went straight there, I usually spend the night with my brother in Charleston, then we head up there and then come back, and then I come back down. So I try to go to 1 or 2 games, and I try to make it either a Texas and Oklahoma game. Those are great games, amazing atmosphere. But this past Backyard Brawl was the first time I've ever been to a Backyard Brawl, and I'm telling you, it's a different level. That game needs to be played every year. And then the year before that, I went to the Black Diamond Trophy rivalry in Morgantown again. On a different level. That game needs to be played every year. There are certain games that absolutely need to be played every year. And not just, dadgummit, why is my alarm going on? I did not set an alarm for freaking 10:30, but of course, it happens to me. Anyways, it's not just West Virginia whenever I'm talking about rivalries that need to be played every year. I think the Red River rivalry needs to be played every year. Oklahoma, Texas, USC, and Notre Dame, that has to be played every year. Ohio State, Michigan, that has to be played every year. You know what? I'm going to get a lot of heat for this one. Yes, sir, I am. I'm going to say it anyways. I think if you had to choose between Clemson and South Carolina or the Backyard Brawl and say one of them has to be played every year, and the other one can't be played every year. I think the backyard brawl would be the game, the rivalry that would need to be played every year over the other one. Clemson, South Carolina is a great rivalry. It's in-state. I've been to a couple of them. They are crazy, crazy games. But overall, Clemson has dominated the series. Of course, it was a great game this last year. South Carolina won by 1 point. They have had some success, especially under Steve Spurrier. But if you look at just the rivalry aspect and, how close the actual rivalry is, I would put the backyard brawl just a little above. What's it called? The Palmetto Bowl, I think it's what it's called. And listen, I'm not saying the Palmetto Bowl shouldn't be played every year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm making a point. I think it should be played every year. But I'm saying the backyard brawl is just a little bit higher of a rivalry. So if you had to choose between one or the other, it would have to be the backyard brawl. I'm trying to give an illustration of how important the backyard brawl is. So the way that should be taken is, wow, the Palmetto Bowl needs to be played every year, but he chose the backyard brawl. So that means that one definitely has to be played every year. And there's a lot of great rivalries that do get played every year, that should get played every year. But the backyard brawl is a little bit better. Now, there's a few. Now, the Iron Bowl, definitely above the backyard brawl. No doubt about it. Iron Bowl, definitely. Ohio State, Michigan, over the backyard brawl. No doubt about it. I would say Oklahoma and Texas is above the backyard brawl, for sure. No doubt about it. Let's see here. I think Georgia Tech, the backyard brawl would be above that rivalry. Let's see. I think Louisville, Kentucky, backyard brawl would be above that. Let's see. Let's go down the list here. Apple Cup, Washington State. That's pretty close, but I would still say the backyard brawl. BYU, Utah, the Holy War. That one's really close right there. I'm still going to go backyard brawl. USC, Notre Dame above the backyard brawl. That is a great rivalry. I would put that more important than the backyard brawl. The Egg Bowl, close, but I think the backyard brawl would edge it out just by a hair. Just by a hair, guys. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other rivalries that could match up real well. But the point of this argument is you have some of these great rivalries that are played every year, and they should be, but the backyard brawl, which is even better, is not. Kuz's Corner, yes, I heard the same thing, but the problem is the reason what I said earlier, Kuz, is nobody's seen that. It's all like, I've heard that too, and then other people say this, and I'm just show it to me. So I know. So I'm just going by, I haven't seen it. I'm hearing some teams haven't signed it. Some teams have. I heard that all the regions signed it, but some of them have. It's just, it's like being pulled every which direction, and you're just trying to figure out what direction to go. So it's like trying to cover all your bases, Iowa State, I like that rivalry, but you know what, Coos? I think the backyard brawl is just a little bit better. So I would say Michigan and Minnesota, that's a good rivalry that a lot of people don't get, but it's a good route. I would say Michigan State, right there with the backyard brawl. I don't know if I could choose between that one if I was a neutral fan. Point of all that discussion was there's a lot of great rivalries that do get played every year and should be. This is a good one. Swabby Guns, thank you for the $5 donation. Army-Navy game period. Yes, that one is the end-all be-all. That game should never, ever miss a year. Ever. I think it did during World War II, but that's self-explanatory. I'm just saying, because of conference realignment, this and that game should always be played. That's a good argument too, Bulldog JC. World's largest outdoor cocktail party, Georgia, Florida. Yes, I would put that maybe a little above the backyard brawl. I like it. I like it. But there's some rivalries out there that get played every year that I don't think are as heated, as important to both fan bases as the backyard brawl, and yet they're played every year. And it's crazy. It's crazy to explain this because in 2007, Pitt ripped out the heart of West Virginia and stomped on it. We were one game away from getting to the national championship, and then 13-9 happened. But the crazy thing is, whenever Pitt left for the ACC, and we heard that the backyard brawl was going to go on a long hiatus and possibly never happen again, guess what? Heart ripped out again. How do you explain that? A team beats you, knocks you out of the national championship, worst feeling in the world, and yet when that same team leaves and you don't get to play them, that hurts too. It's because you're rivals. You want to get them back for that. You remember 13-9, so you want to beat them 20 times in a row to try to make up for that. That's why. That's the best way that I can explain it to anybody that's never happened to. Because most people's rivals, you get to play them every year, right? That's the best way I can explain it. I would put the 13-9 for sure at the top. Worst moment as a West Virginia fan, period. No doubt about it. But losing the backyard brawl, it's up there. It is up there. Black Diamond Trophy rivalry, that would hurt too. And a lot of people get on to me, mostly Big 12 fans, because I do make these videos on, how West Virginia would fit in the ACC the best, how we miss playing our rivals, blah, blah, blah. And then Big 12 fans, I think they take it as disrespect, and they feel like I'm saying that I just wish West Virginia was not in the Big 12, or I don't like the Big 12. That's not what I'm saying. I think the Big 12 is a great conference. But just imagine your team not getting to play their rivals every year and playing halfway across the country in a conference. Here's the thing. If the Big 12, if the ACC goes down, and the Big 12 goes out and gets Pitt, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, and Louisville, that's it. I'm good. Good to go. Don't care about the ACC. So long. Bye-bye. You screwed us anyways. Don't care. The title of the conference doesn't matter to me. Whether we played our rivals in the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, heck, the Pac-12. This is going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but I'm being dead serious right now. Okay? If the Pac-12 said, hey, we want West Virginia, we want Pitt, we want Virginia Tech, we want Louisville, we'll throw in the Miami Hurricanes, and let's see, who did I miss? Did I miss anybody? Anyways, all those rivals. Cincinnati, we'll throw in Cincinnati. Pac-12. Oh, man, that's a lot of travel. I don't care. Sign me up. Absolutely. That's my point. It doesn't matter the name, the logo, the title of the conference. That's not what matters to me. What matters to me is getting to play the teams that we like to play. And those teams like to play West Virginia as well. Those teams like to play West Virginia as well. Pitt fans miss playing West Virginia on a yearly basis. That game last year, it was like a decade's worth of emotion all into one game. And you know what? I've been to a home game in Morgantown where we lost to Oklahoma, and it was disappointing. But whenever I went to that backyard brawl, and even though it was not in Morgantown, it was at Heinz Field, that feeling was even worse. The feeling during the game was awesome, amazing. Talking to Pitt fans, surprisingly calm. I didn't see any fights there. I really didn't. I went with a group of people just in case. I'm like, I've never been. I don't know the situation with this because I grew up kind of poor, so we really didn't have the money to buy tickets to West Virginia games. And then by the time I had a good job, West Virginia had moved to the Big 12 and no backyard brawl. So that was my first backyard brawl. And it was intense, and the game was amazing, but no fighting, and we were safe. There was a few comments and, a little shaky moments here and there, but overall, it was a very, very safe environment. Loved it. The highest attendance in the state of, not in the state, but in the city of Pittsburgh for any type of public venue. Backyard brawl set the record. And this year, I've already talked to my brother. We've already confirmed it. We will be at the backyard brawl. So if you're a West Virginia fan or a Pitt fan, or if you're not a fan of any, you just live near the city of Morgantown, within an hour or so, hey, come stop by. I'm going to be there. We'll hang out. We'll talk football. Hey, if you want to be on a video, I'll shoot it. If not, that's fine. I get you. But we're going to be in Morgantown, so make sure if you're near Morgantown, whenever the backyard brawl is there, come stop by and see us. We're going to have our own tent. We're going to be tailgating, going to Blue style, just like we did last year at Heinz Field. That was crazy. We set up a tent not even a half a mile from Heinz Field, and whenever I put on my Going to Blue gear, that people started. It's crazy because my channel is not that big, but I guess you get that personality and people start passing your name around and they start watching your channel. And even if they don't subscribe to your channel, they still know who you are and what you do. And they just like to come up and talk football with you. And that is so awesome. That's why football is, one of the best sports to watch, because it brings everybody together. I had Pitt fans that watched Going to Blue that came, hey, what's up, Going to Blue, man? What do you think about this game? And it was just amazing. And I did a live show over there, and as the parking lot filled up, I was able to do an overhead shot, and it was just absolutely amazing. And I think it's going to be even more amazing this year in Morgantown, because it's going to be definitely pro West Virginia. Pitt will be lucky to get 10,000 tickets, lucky, whereas in West Virginia probably had a good 25,000. So I'm looking forward to it. The importance of the backyard brawl is very, very important to both of these fan bases. And if you look at the ratings that the backyard brawl brought in, it's important to the nation. Not as important as some of these other rivalries like Army, Navy, USC, Notre Dame, the Iron Bowl, Oklahoma, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. Like, there's some big ones out there that's more important. But the nation showed interest. And the crazy thing is, while I was at the game, I would want to go get a drink or need to go to the bathroom, so I'd take a little break from the game, and I would go look on YouTube, and there were people on YouTube that were not West Virginia fans that were doing live streams and watching the backyard brawl. And so I was getting updates on how other people were feeling, because whenever I was at the game, there was moments where I just wanted to stay in my seat and watch the game because West Virginia was doing good. But then in those moments where West Virginia does bad, I had to take a breather and walk out of the stadium and just like, man, you get stressed out. You get that sweaty feeling of, man, let me check out and see what maybe something happened and I didn't hear about it, even though you've only been gone from your seat for like 5 seconds. Maybe something happened and we turned them over and did something crazy or something. So you go on and watch somebody's YouTube channel and you're seeing somebody else talk about a game that you're at. That is crazy, and it was awesome. Hopefully Coos can make it to the backyard brawl in Morgantown. We can do like a dual live show. That'd be a really cool thing if we could pull that off. I know I'm going to be there, so we'll see if we can do that. But Cincinnati and Morgantown, I mean, I'm not hearing a lot of buzz about that. I'm really not. Maybe as it gets closer, people will get more excited, but I'm not. I don't think that's. As of right now, it's not an important game. Maybe in the future, it can build into a rivalry because, I mean, we're the two closest schools to each other in the Big 12 as far as the East Side goes. So maybe one day it'll turn into something big, but right now it's not even close to being a rivalry, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, it's not. But like I said in the video, as much as I love West Virginia, I don't think the ACC going out and getting West Virginia is enough to do anything. honestly, I think if the ACC went out and just got West Virginia, it would just be another mouth to feed. It would make things worse. So if the ACC really wants to improve their situation, yes, you need to go out and get West Virginia. But on top of that, you need to be talking to other teams that haven't signed the granted rights. Maybe it is an Oklahoma State. That would be a massive, massive get if you're the ACC. TCU, like the comment said earlier, TCU. If TCU is available and TCU hasn't signed, you have to go after TCU. The top 4 brands that I would say, if they haven't signed the grant of rights that the ACC needs to be talking to if they want to survive this, would be West Virginia, Oklahoma State, TCU, and Baylor. If you can reel in those 4 teams, then you have a chance to bring ESPN back to the negotiating table and redo that TV deal and redo that grant of rights and get something worth doing. Because if you can do, if the ACC can do that, then ESPN would be willing, and there's probably incentives for the ACC to do this because think about it, you're hurting your competition because the Big 12 has their grant of rights and Tier 1 TV deal through Fox, and Fox is ESPN's main competitor. So I would be, if there is not incentives for the ACC to find teams that haven't signed the Big 12 granted rights and try to pursue them, then ESPN, there's something wrong with you as well. Because it helps the ACC and it hurts the Big 12, and that's a win-win for you. But we've seen the ACC make stupid decisions in the past. So, I mean, who knows what they're thinking? Who knows what they're actually going to do? Who knows? Nobody knows. For all we know, they could be looking at group of 5 teams. And then in the future, they lose their big brands. And you're looking at the ACC is basically the leftovers, which would be like your Boston College, your Wake Forest, maybe Syracuse or Pitt or a Louisville. And then adding teams like Memphis, East Carolina, Appalachian State. I mean, that would just be bad. That's the point I'm trying to make. If the ACC doesn't do something as far as pursuing teams while there's a window, because once these teams do sign the grant of rights, the window is over and the payout goes through the roof and nothing is happening. And then basically the ACC is waiting to die. Oh, man, we have the grant of rights locked in until 2036. Well, if those teams don't vote first of all, don't forget about that. But let's say the teams hold off and they don't vote and you do last till 2036. Then what? Then you're done. That's what I'm trying to point out. And I hate that for ACC teams because I know they like being in the ACC. But I'm telling you, if your conference doesn't do something, then your conference isn't going to exist. And then you better hope you have a landing spot. And trust me, as a West Virginia fan, that is a terrible, terrible feeling. When you know that your conference is going down the drain and you're not sure if you have a landing spot, that's a scary feeling. It feels like football as you know it could go away. Luckily, the Big 12 did swoop in and took West Virginia, so we did have a landing spot. But just having that feeling is terrible. So the teams that don't have a guaranteed landing spot in the SEC and the Big Ten is going to go through the same thing that West Virginia fans have been through. And I know a lot of people are like, well, won't you be happy about that? Because then you can point and say, hi, we had to go through that. Now you have to. No, I wouldn't be happy about that because I want the right thing to be done. I want the right thing to be done. I do. Peninsula P, I'm not lumping y'all in with anybody. I'm just telling you that certain teams would have a landing spot in the Big Ten and the SEC. And even though y'all have a high profile, you don't have a higher profile than a North Carolina, a Clemson, a Florida State, Miami Hurricanes, a Virginia Tech, a Virginia. There's certain things that the Big Ten. The thing with Pitt, here's the thing with Pitt, because I'm not even though Pitt's a rival, I am not disrespecting them. Pitt is a good academic school, and they have AU status. They have everything that meets the criteria for a Big Ten school. The problem is the Big Ten already has Penn State, and the Big Ten would not want Pitt. So even though Pitt has a great profile that would fit the Big Ten wouldn't take Pitt. And then there's the SEC who wouldn't stretch that far north. So, yeah, that's why I said, Pitt, Syracuse, Louisville, Boston College, and Wake Forest. Those are the teams that could potentially go to the Big 12. And you could even throw Virginia Tech and Miami. Although now I'm leaning towards Miami going to the SEC because I learned a lot of things about Florida State as to why Florida State would not join the ACC. Florida State is actively pursuing AAU status, and a lot of people forget back in '91, Florida State chose the ACC invite over the SEC invite. Florida State has already had an SEC invite, and they turned it down back in 1991. And it's because the SEC turned down Florida State multiple times. So there's a little bit of bad blood brewing between Florida State and the SEC. So if Florida State has a choice, they're going to take the Big Ten. So then that would flip the SEC's choice from Florida State down to the Miami Hurricanes to fill that spot. So it'll be interesting to see how the battle for Florida turns out, because I do think there's going to be a battle between the Big Ten and the SEC as far as whether they're going to get Florida State or Miami. That's I truly believe that's going to happen. Whether that happens in the next 5 years, 10 years, or 2036, I don't know. But I think eventually that is a specific battle that that's going to happen in the future. I really do. Yes, and then South Carolina got in. Exactly. So that's a great point right there too, because little decisions and big decisions have affected conference realignment. People forget that Texas was close to joining the Pac-12. I mean, what if that would have happened? Would the Pac-12 be one of the best conferences in the nation, or the dominant or the best conference in the nation if that would have happened? What if Texas A&M decided to not go to the SEC? I mean, and then Florida State turning down the SEC, South Carolina getting that bid. No, I think South Carolina joined before then, though. That was like back in the 1960s. Who am I thinking of? Crap. But anyways, the latest edition was Missouri and Texas A&M. So declines and additions have changed the landscape. So if you went back and changed one little thing, the entire fabric of conferences would look different. Completely different. If you know what, think about this. If the Big East hadn't sold out the basketball, the Big East could have added from the ACC. And then the Big East would have been a big-time football brand as well. Problem is, the Big East sold out to basketball, and then teams started jumping ship, and then they straight up sold their naming rights to the 7 Catholic schools. And that's why the Big East got flushed down the drain. Sad tale. Anyways, guys, I'm going to bounce off here. My nose is actually getting a little stuffed up. I guess I got sick talking all this conference realignment. I don't know. Not feeling great right now. Came out of the blue. But anyways, I appreciate everybody stopping by. Make sure to hit the like button on the way out. Appreciate everybody in the comment section. Everybody hit the like button. Everybody with the super chats. You guys are what allow me to keep doing this on a daily basis. I am living a dream, and I have every single one of you to thank, and I greatly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. This is a dream come true. I honestly didn't think that this channel would be where it is today, but it would not be where it is today without people like you. So appreciate it, guys. I hope you have a good rest of your Tuesday. Get you a good night's rest. Have a good day tomorrow. We'll have more videos for you tomorrow, and of course, another live show. But anyways, that's it for tonight. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and Golden Blue Dude is now out.